As many of you know, I am the youngest of three siblings. My sister, who's 5 years older than me, and my brother, who's 2 years older than me. I love them very much, and when I was a toddler, they were the world to me. The three of us would do everything together, especially playing on trampoline. This was my favorite activity, which is probably why the only sport I'm good at is diving. We would spend hours on that trampoline, coming up with games, throwing glow sticks underneath when it was dark, or just enjoying a nap in the sun. I thought that this would be my life forever, and that nothing would change. My sister, Gigi, was my guide in life. I thought she knew everything there was to know. She took care of me and protected me. However, once Gigi went to middle school, things changed. She would leave for school before I woke up, and when she returned, she would lock herself in her room all day. I often found myself alone on the trampoline. I never understood why she would do this. I always just thought she didn't want to hang out with me because I was so much younger. Now I realize that she had been struggling at her new school, and the level of judgment was too much for her to bear. Unfortunately, my younger self didn't understand these concepts, and we began to grow apart. When we moved, I attended the same school as my brother, Freddie. Since Gigi had pulled away from me, I became attached to Freddie. Being only one grade behind him, I could watch him closely. The closer I was, the more I admired and looked up to him. He was more popular, more athletic, better looking, and smarter than I had ever been. I wanted to be just like him. I mimicked the way he talked, his hairstyle. I tried to be someone I wasn't around my friends. And because of this, I never truly got to know them, and they never got to know anything about me. All I could think of was how I didn't belong with them. If I was with them, I was alone. My sister then went to boarding school. If I hadn't seen her before, now it wasn't possible. Our relationship was diminishing, and the only person I could talk to was Freddie. COVID hit, and I couldn't even be with my friends. As it turns out, Freddie thought we spent way too much time together. He stopped hanging out with me, and eventually, it got to the point where he ignored me completely. When I would try to get his attention, he would beat me up and lock the door. It was then that I realized I needed change. I needed a fresh start. I thought I would do what my sister did, and that's what led me to Hill. When I arrived on campus, I had one goal. I wanted to be cool. Or rather, I wanted to be like how Freddie was at our old school. And my quote-unquote change quickly became the same thing it was before I left. In my third form year, I surrounded myself with people I didn't know and lied about who I was. By the end of the year, not only did I not achieve my goal of being cool, but I was still the same fake friend that I was at my old school. Then came the summer. Freddie had just finished his junior year at our local high school. He had always struggled with ADHD, and the lack of time management to get his college work done had him overloaded. When I went home that summer, I found that my brother was using substances to help cope with the stress. This made me realize how distant we had actually grown. I thought the only way to mend our relationship and help him was to follow him down the bad path he was on. By the end of the summer, my brother and I were closer than ever. Yet, I had no idea that the habits I developed would affect me harshly down the line. Fourth form year in summer came and went. During this time, I continued the habits I picked up from Freddie. I was good at keeping them separate from Hill. I had convinced myself I was just doing what any normal high schooler does. I had convinced myself I had grown closer to my friends, and I had convinced myself that I had become my own person. By the end of the summer, I thought everything was going smoothly. For once, I was actually excited to come back to campus. This feeling was fleeting. As my fellow sixth formers know, and the current fifth formers now know, fifth form year was not easy. Hours of sleep gone just for 3 extra points on a test. The paper your teacher just decided to make a page or two longer, and watching your friends beside you commit to college already. Shout out Field Hockey. Apart from these things, I was also in an unhealthy relationship. I had again separated from my friends and thought they knew nothing about me. I thought I just didn't belong at this school. I waited eagerly for winter break. All I could think about was spending Christmas with my family. Shortly after I got home, I found things were not going to play out like how I expected. My parents sat me and my siblings down and told us that they were getting a divorce. I was shocked. I thought I'd finally made it through the rough patches of school and could finally relax at home. Having been so distant from my family by being at Hill, I hadn't a clue about my parents' changing relationship. I thought home was my one thing to fall back on. I thought I would yap to my family about how much I hated Hill and how much I couldn't wait to graduate the next year. I thought I didn't belong at Hill, but that break, I wanted to be anywhere but where I was. The chaos of my life had crossed a line, and as you might have expected, so did my usage. Maybe it was because I grew up following my brother's every move that I used to cope. Maybe it was the only way I was taught to release my emotions. Nonetheless, all I could do was mask that I felt I didn't belong anywhere. I let my habits take control, and the solid line I had between home and school life faded. Sometime after that break, I remember going through some of the old family videos we had taken so long ago. In many of these videos, it was my siblings and I jumping on the same trampoline we grew up on. We'd be smiling and laughing. I remembered how it felt to be surrounded by the people I love, the people who love me, what it felt like to be home, and what it felt like to feel belong. After seeing myself in those videos, I had a sudden change of heart about where I was in life. Watching my younger self, I realized it was time to make the changes I said I would before coming to Hill. If anything, I thought I owed it to the little guy in the video. So that's what I did. I reached out to professionals, my family, and my friends. Something I am eternally grateful for is that everyone I asked held out their hand for me. I told them the truth about the pain I was feeling, and all I ever got in return was support. My siblings and my parents care for me, my friends, who I thought I didn't belong with, listen to me. To them I am thankful. Their actions have made me a better and more genuine person. We are honest with each other now and can lean on one another. When I spend time with them, I cherish it, rather than wish I was doing something else, something I had never experienced before. I owe them for the support they gave me. My usage dropped significantly, but more importantly, my motive was no longer to hide. I began thinking about the risks I was taking and made better, more thoughtful decisions. I picked up new hobbies, things I had always been into but always thought I was too out of place to try. I met new people and new teachers. I tried to learn who people were and what they wanted to be seen as, not by what they had been labeled as. The change I made eventually led me to discover who I was. I was no longer a wannabe version of my brother. I was able to shape my own identity and find what was important to me, what I liked and didn't like, where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. If I were to end this chapel talk with a message, I would want it to be this. Look around at your fellow classmates, your fellow colleagues. Ask yourself, who do you see? Do you really hate them for not holding the door that one time? Have they given you a demerit you thought might have been pushing it? Have you made an opinion on them without taking the time to hear them out? Defined them by their lowest, brought them down at their highest? Take the time to learn about the people you hate, to learn about the one person you say hello to but never actually talk to learn about your friends that you spend hours with every day. If you are feeling alone, just know that everyone belongs somewhere. The hard truth is, it's not up to others to welcome you in. Yet, if you put your mind to it, decide to make a change, you might find that where you belong is right where you are sitting. Thank you.